In this lesson, I'm going to talk about accidentals and enharmonic equivalence. So I'm going to put a treble clef here on the board, and I'm just going to kind of walk some notes up the scale. And I started on middle C. I'm going to keep going until I get to an octave above middle C, like this. So we're going to look over at the piano keyboard, and I'm going to show you where this is on the piano. So here's your middle C. And there's that octave, C to C, like that. So as you're looking at the piano keyboard, what we're going to do is find half steps. Okay, so right here, you can't get any closer than these two keys. And this happens to be E and F. So we say that there's a half step in between E and F. And if we keep going, there's another one right here, B and C. There's no note in between here, so this is a half step. And you can find lots of half steps on the piano. So there's another one because you can't get any closer. Or down here, like that. So those are all half steps. Now, if you want to do a whole step, all you're doing is putting two half steps together. So if we go from a C to a D, there's a half step, and there's another half step. That makes a whole step, like that. So I'm going to indicate these half and whole steps up here on the board. And I use this sign for whole step, like that. And then half step, I use this. Okay, and there's that second one right there. Okay, so those are our whole and half steps that exist in the white keys of the piano. But you might want to use some other keys. And so in order to do that, you're going to need to use some accidentals. Okay, so I'm going to put another scale down here, and I'm going to add some accidentals to this scale. Okay, so my first one is going to be right here. So what I've just done is put something called a flat right in front of the E. And so we call it E flat. And it's a little bit confusing just because when we say it like this, E flat. But when we write it, we put the flat in front of it. And whenever there's a flat in front of a note, what you want to do is lower it by half a step. And so on the keyboard, here's the E. And when we go down, like this. So now we've got an E flat. Okay, so now I'm going to put in another kind of accidental up here. How about an F sharp? Again, we put this accidental right in front of the note. And this is F sharp, and so it's just the opposite of a flat. We just want to raise the note a half step from what it would normally be. So over on the piano keyboard, there's my F, and there's F sharp. Now we're going to stay here for just a minute, and we're going to think about what might happen if we add flats and sharps to a couple other notes. So what about if we have this F right here, and we decide we want to do an F flat. So F flat, we're going to pull it down just half a step. And you're going to notice that we have another white key right here. So adding the flat didn't take us to a black key. And a similar situation is right here. We take a B and we add a sharp to that B. We're going to go up to another white key, which is a C. So on the whiteboard, let's see, here's a B sharp and here's an F flat. So we do this just the same as we would the others. But you might think, well, it's kind of interesting because that B sharp also looked like a C, and this F flat also looked like an E. And so what this means is that these pitches are enharmonically equivalent to each other. These two pitches, the F flat and E, are enharmonically equivalent. So are B sharp and C. Okay, and there are a lot of pitches that are enharmonically equivalent. We can find even more if we use some fancier accidentals, such as a double flat. Let's do this one. So all this means is that you're going to lower it by two half steps, but you really don't want to get into this kind of stuff because musicians are definitely not used to seeing that. They'll get confused. But this one is still okay. So if you want to do that, it really helps you if you have the image of a piano keyboard just kind of in your mind. So here's an A, here's A flat, and there's A double flat. So this is actually the same as G. And you could even make it the same as another note if you went down to F and you sharp that F, and then you added an additional sharp, you'd get to the same place. So all of those different notes are enharmonically equivalent. And let's just do a double sharp too so you can see what that looks like. So you can write C double sharp, you could write it like this, or you could just put an X like that and it would mean the same thing. So you might want to think about all the things that might be enharmonically equivalent to C double sharp. And again, it's helpful to think of what the piano keyboard looks like. So if I'm down here, here's C, C sharp, C double sharp, same as D, so it's enharmonically equivalent to D, and also to E double flat. There's E, E flat, and there's E double flat. The way you make a natural, you just draw these lines here, parallel but offset, and connect them like that. And a natural is just, it means go back to the way it was before. So if I put this, right now all that means to me is it's just regular old F. So why would I need the natural? Well, it would be really helpful to me if I had, let's say I had an F sharp over here. So now when I see this, I know this is supposed to be an F sharp, and this is just supposed to be a regular F. And that's all the lesson for now.